G'day folks, Costo here once again and welcome to another episode of Bushbeat on rugbyleague.com. Now before I go any further, what did you make of Origin 3? What was the turning point for you? Is Origin as good as it used to be? If they were picking an Aussie team today, a test team, like the good old days, who would make it after that? And what about those country boys playing for both Queensland and New South Wales? Where would the Maroons and Blues be without those boys from the bush? You can give us your thoughts via social media. Rugbyleague.com can be found on platforms like Facebook, Instagram and X. And as for this week's show, coming up, we catch up with one of the gun players in Group 4 in New South Wales. But sadly, he's gone for the season. A cruel blow to both player and club. We'll check out what's happening in Group 4, plus everywhere else in New South Wales and the ACT. From Bombala to Byron Bay, that is next, right here on Bushbeat on rugbyleague.com. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com and our New South Wales ACT segment, starting with the Denton Cup in Newcastle, which we'll focus on next week on Bushbeat for all you Novocastrians. Last weekend, Cessnock beat Western Suburbs 28 points to 20, and since then, Alex Young has come on board at the Goannas, as mentioned in our news on rugbyleague.com. He's the young brother, of course, of Dom Young from the Newcastle Knights. Elsewhere last weekend, Curry defeated Souths 16-12. Maitland brushed aside the Northern Hawks 38-4. Central outgunned Lakes United 30 points to 12, and the Entrants edged out Macquarie Scorpions 36-32. To the latter, Maitland and Wyong first and second respectively on 17 points. Next, we've got West, South, Cessnock and the Entrants all on 14, followed by Central and Curry on 12, Lakes and Macquarie on 10, and Northern Hawks on 2. This Saturday, Lakes United hosting Curry, Northern Hawks at home to Wyong, and Macquarie to welcome Cessnock. And on Sunday, Souths hosting Central, all games starting at 3 o'clock. In the neighbouring Hunter Valley, Group 21, last weekend, Greater Branxton beat Aberdeen 32-10, Singleton 32, Muswellbrook 24, and Scone 60, Denman no score. The latter, Greater Branxton and Singleton on 12, Scone 8, Muswellbrook and Denman 6, Aberdeen 4. This Saturday, Scone welcome Muswellbrook for a 5:30 start, and on Sunday from 2 o'clock, round 11 continues with Greater Branxton at home to Denman as the Tigers play Singleton. Up over the range in our focus this week on Bushbeat, Group 4, Werris Creek suffering their first loss of the season last weekend. In fact, they got flogged in front of their very own people. Gunnedah 50-10 winners over the Magpies. Elsewhere, Boggabri beat Norths 22-14. Moree Boars 52-4 winners against Dungowan, and Katingal 86, Weewar 24. The Group 4 ladder, Werris Creek still leading the way. The Magpies on 17 points. Boggabri 15. Moree Boars 14. Gunnedah and Norths both on 13. Katingal and Dungowan 4 and Weewar on 0. This Saturday in the Whitehaven Coal Premiership, Werris Creek seeking redemption. Again at home and again a massive match against Boggabri as Gunnedah welcome Dungowan. On Sunday, Cootie travelled to Moree to play the Boars as Norths host Weewar, all games starting at 3 o'clock. Further north in Group 19, Gyra 38-24 over the Boomerangs. Urella belted Glen Innes 34-10. Inverell gave Narwin an even bigger hiding. 64-18 the final score, and 34 apiece between Warrielda and Tinga. To the latter, Inverell on top on 19, Tinga second on 16, Glen Innes 14, Gyra 13, Urella 12, Warrielda 11, Boomerang 7, Narwin 6. For this Saturday, the Wombats off to Moree to play the Rangs. Narwin host Gyra, Urella travel across to Tinga. And on Sunday, the Battle of the Birds in the Sapphire City as Inverell take on Glen Innes. Kick-off is 2 o'clock for all matches. Down into the Northern Rivers in what was first versus second last weekend, Coogin 18, Bilambil 14, elsewhere Evans Head 14, Marist Brothers 38, Northern United 28, Tweed Coast 42, Ballina 14, Mullumbimby 12, Murwillumbah 28, Casino 22, Byron Bay 14, Kyogle 32, and Lower Clarence 10, Tweed Heads 34. To the latter in the Northern Rivers, Coogin 20 points, Bilambil 14, Marist Brothers 13, Ballina and Evans Head 11, Kyogle 10, then 4 teams on 9 points, Casino, Murwillumbah, Mullum and Tweed Coast, followed by Tweed Heads on 8, Lower Clarence 7, Byron Bay 2, Northern United on 0. This Saturday in the Northern Rivers, the home teams listed first here, Kyogle v Evans Head, Casino v Lower Clarence. And on Sunday, Ballamble versus Mullum, Marist Brothers v Murwillumbah, Tweed Coast v Ballina, Coogin versus Byron Bay, and Tweedheads v Northern United. Kick-off at all those matches, 2:45pm. To Group 2, in the Tooheys new premiership last weekend, Woolgoolga beat Maxwell 32-24. In the Jacaranda City local derby, Grafton Rebels defeated the Ghosts 30 points to 22, and Nambucca 32-6 winners over Sawtell. To the latter, Woolgoolga on 17, Nambucca 14, South Grafton 11, Sawtell and Maxwell 10, Coffs 8, and the Ghosts on 4. This Saturday at 2:40, Maxwell at Nambucca and Sawtell at South Grafton, and on Sunday also at 2:40, it's Coffs hosting the Ghosts. In Group 3, Ulbar 38, Taree City 10, Port Macquarie Sharks 56, Foster Tuncurry Hawks 4, Port City 22, Wingham 14, and Macleay Valley 22, Warhope 30. To the latter, the Sharkies on top on 14 points, Ulbar and Macleay Valley 11, Warhope and Wingham 6, Port City 4, Foster Tuncurry 2, and Taree City on 0. This Saturday, Port City host the Hawks as the Tigers welcome the Mustangs. 3 o'clock kickoff for both matches. And on Sunday at 2:45, Taree City entertain the Sharkies as Warhope host Ulbar. To the Central Coast, last weekend, the entrants 42, Arimba 16, Toukley 28, Berkeley Vale 6, Terrigal 10, Kincumber 36, and Woy Woy 12, Erina 22. To the latter, the Eagles still flying high on 19 points. Toukley and Wyong both 14, Kincumber 13, the entrants 12, Terrigal 8, Arimba and Woy Woy both on 6, and Berkeley Vale on 4. Tomorrow night, that's Friday night as we speak, at 8 o'clock, it's Wyong at home to Erina, and on Sunday, Berkeley Vale host Woy Woy, Arimba welcome Terrigal, and Kincumber v Toukley at MacKillop, all those games starting at 3:05. In the Macarthur, no footy this weekend, although East Campbelltown playing the touring French under-19s tomorrow night. That's Friday night at Waminda. Last weekend, Collegians beat the Eagles 44-10. Mittagong, 36-26 winners against Roos. Camden crushed Narellan 78 points to 6. The Oaks 28-4 over Oakdale, and Thirlmere scraped home against Picton 26-24. To the latter, undefeated Camden on 24 points. Collegians and Oakdale 18, the Oaks 16, Mittagong and Roos 14, Picton 10, East Campbelltown, the Goannas and Thirlmere on 8, and Narellan on 4. Back on the coast in the Illawarra, a couple of upsets last weekend. Dapto defeated second place West 24-14. That's now 3 straight losses for the Devils. And Thirroul 38-24 winners over league leaders Collegians. And in the match at Corrimal, De La Salle beat the Cougars 54-20. And the Harrigan Cup ladder, Collie still on top on 14 points, then 3 teams on 10, West, De La Salle and Dapto. And on 6 points we have Thirroul and Corrimal on 4. For this Saturday, the Butchers head north to play De La Salle as Collies host West in a mouth-watering top-of-the-table clash. And on Sunday, the Canaries are in Cougar Town. All games start at 3 o'clock. In Group 7 last weekend in NAIDOC round, Stingrays beat Berry 22-10. Albion Park Oak Flats defeated Milton Ulladulla 28-14. A morale-boosting win for Nowra, 28-16 over Jamboree at Bomber. And Shellharbour 14-6 winners against Kiama. To the latter in Group 7, Shellharbour on 18, the Rays 16, Kiama, Albion Park and Gerringong 14, Milton Ulladulla 10, Jamboree and Nowra on 8 and Berry on 6. The catch-up games coming up on Saturday, Milton Ulladulla at home to Jamboree as Gerringong welcome Shellharbour, and on Sunday a rejuvenated Nowra clash with Berry at Bomber as Albion Park host Kiama, a 3 o'clock kickoff for all games in Group 7. Further down the coast in Group 16, last weekend, Tathra smashed visiting Maruya 54-16. At Bega, Eden cooked the Chooks 30 points to 4. Up at Bombala, the Blue Healers defeated arch rivals Cooma 22 points to 8. And shock horror, Narooma forfeited to the Marimbula Pambula Bulldogs. Poor form by the Devils, I got to say. They should actually be docked points for this sort of business. That's my take on it anyway, for failing to turn up, and that is the Narooma Devils last weekend. Now, the Group 16 ladder, undefeated Marimbula on 22 points, Tathra and Eden, second and third respectively on 16, the Cooma Stallions on 10, Bombala and Narooma on 9, Maruya 8, Bega 6, Bateman's Bay on 4. This Sunday, kick-off times all over the place. At 2 o'clock, we have Bega hosting Tathra. At 2:30, it's Maruya to welcome the table-topping Dogs. At 2:45, Eden at home to Bateman's Bay. And at 3 o'clock, assuming the Devils make the trip, after last weekend's debacle, Bombala play Narooma. In the Riverina in Group 9, a wake-up call for Kangaroos last weekend with the Glamour Boys suffering a 12-point loss on home soil, their first loss of the season. It was Aaron Gorrell's Gundagai who beat the league leaders 22-10. The Tigers looking the real deal as Junie flogged a tackle-shy Brothers 68-0 at Harris Park in the battle for the Rick Keese Memorial Shield. Rather embarrassing for the Brothers in front of their old boys who came together to celebrate the 30th anniversary of their 1995 grand final winning team. And up at Twickenham, the Chimit Blues had to work for it. They beat Cootamundra 28 points to 8. In the Sunday matches down on the border, an absolute thriller at Greenfield Park with the defending premiers Young scraping home 23-22 against Albury. Captain coach Tom Giles, the hero for the Cherry Pickers, his field goal proving the difference, probably the play of the week in bush footy, remembering that he plays front row. And back in Wagga, the Whale would not be happy. Temora beat South City 26-10. To the ladder, Roos on top on 20 points, Temora 17, Gundagai 16, Chumit 15, Young 12. That's the top 5. Next, Albury Thunder on 10, Junie and South City both on 8, Cootamundra 4, Brothers with the donut. No footy this weekend in Group 9 with round 12 to start on July the 19th. In neighbouring Group 20, a lot of talk about the possible resurrection of the Kelly Cup. Don't hold your breath. And as for Clubland in Group 20 last weekend, Hay kept their finals hopes alive with a 24-18 win over Yanko. And West Wyalong caused a major upset in front of their old boys. The Mallee men knocked over Leeton 18-16, with Chris Lewis getting a double for the locals. Further afield, DPC defeated Black and Whites 26-14 and front-running Waratahs 38-22 winners against Yenda. The Group 20 ladder, Waratahs on top on 22, DPC 16, Leeton 14, Yenda 12, Yanko and Hay on 11, Black and Whites 10, West Wyalong 8, TLU 4. This Sunday in round 12, DPC hosts Yenda, Waratahs face the Mallee men at the Exes, Hay on the road to play the Sharkies at Lake Kajalago, and Black and Whites off to Yanko. All games start at 2:30. In the Central West, in the PMP, no fixtures last weekend. Apparently it was in case of a washout. And get this, a game at Bathurst was called off last season because they had 4.5 mils of rain. Can you believe it? I can only imagine what our listeners in far north Queensland must be thinking when they hear that. In case you didn't know, that's where they measure the rainfall by the metre. In fact, I can remember when Cyclone Larry came to town and at Mirrawinny near Innisfail, they had about 7 metres of rain that calendar year. I think those blokes at Bathurst are kidding themselves. Bunch of softies, perhaps. Anyway, looking at the PMP this Saturday, we've got Lithgow Workies off to Bathurst to play St Pat's at Jack Arrow. It's a 3:45 kickoff. Here's hoping the Frogs don't empty their bladders beforehand. And before that, from 2 o'clock at Carrington Park, it's Pampers v Mudgee. On Sunday at 2 o'clock, a massive derby at Wade Park where Hawks play Sims as Forbes welcome Dubbo Macquarie in the match at Spooner. And from 2:30, Dubbo Sims and Wellington clash at Apex as Ningen play Parks at Larkin Oval. And by the way, the ladder, Dubbo Sims, Mudgee and Orange Sims in that order, all on 16 points. Next is Forbes 15, Wellington 14, St Pat's 12, Hawks 11, Macquarie and Parks on 8, Ningen 6, Panthers and Lithgow Workies on 4. In the Woodbridge Cup last weekend, a possible grand final dress rehearsal. Oberon edged out Cowra 32-30, Trundle upstaged Manildra 38 points to 22, Peak Hill crushed Condo 50-0, Cargo beat Ugara 32-26 and Canoundra flogged Molong 42-10. The Woodbridge Cup ladder, Oberon on top on 20 points, Manildra 18, Cowra 18, Canoundra, Orange United and Trundle all on 14, Peak Hill 13, Condo 12, Molong 11, Ugara 10, Grenfell 6 and Cargo down the bottom on 4. This Saturday, we've got Molong at Manildra and Orange United playing Peak Hill at Wade Park. Those games to start at 3 o'clock. And then on Sunday, Ugara hosts Grenfell, Trundle off to Condo and Canoundra at home to Cargo. Those matches to commence at 2 p.m. In the Castlereagh League, Gulgong accounted for Barradine last weekend, 26-10. Narromine edged out Dunedoo, 34-32. Coolah won 38-20 at Cobar, and Coona walloped Warren 40 points to 16. To the ladder, Cooler on top on 30 points, Coona 26, Narromine 25, Gulgong 24, Cobar and Canamble 20, Dunedoo 18, Warren 15 and Barradine on 11. This Saturday in the Castlereagh, Gulgong welcome Coona, Narromine host Cooler, Dunedoo at home to Canamble, and Warren make the trip to Cobar. All those games to start at 2:30. In the Pro 10 Cup last weekend at Deniliquin, amazing scenes. The Blue Heelers in their comeback season at home for the first time in almost half a century. How good. But Ivanhoe spoilt the party. They beat Danny 50 points to 4. In the other games, Rankin Springs defeated Gulgowie 22-0. And Hillston snuck home 14-10 against Narrandera. The latter in the Pro 10, Ivanhoe and Rankin Springs on 10, Barellan and Narellan on 6, Hillston and Gulgowie 4, and the winless Deniliquin on 2. This Saturday, the last weekend before the finals, all roads lead to Rankin Springs, where first up, Ivanhoe tackle Hillston. That's followed by Barellan v Denny, and then the Dragons with home ground advantage up against Narrandera in a grand final rematch. The Lizards needing to win to secure a finals berth. The first of those matches, by the way, starting at 12:40. To the ACT and in the Canberra Raiders Cup last weekend, in the capital, Tuggeranong beat visiting Woden Valley 30 points to 26. Across the border at Seaford, the Blues put the Cleaners through Belconnen United 46-4. Roos way too good at Yass, rolling the Magpies 56-4. And Gungahlin continued a frustrating season for Goulburn, winning 22-10 in the Lilac City. In the Canberra Raiders Cup ladder, Roos and Blues in a ding-dong battle for the minor premiership. Both teams on 16. Next, West Belconnen 13. Woden Valley 11. Gungahlin and Tuggeranong on 8. Belconnen United 7. Goulburn 5 and Yass on 4. This Saturday, round 13, Yass off to Gungahlin, Belconnen United at home to Tuggeranong, Woden Valley play Roos at Phillip Oval, and West Belconnen host the Blues. All games kick off at 3 o'clock. And finally, the George Took Shield. Last week, Boorowa won 30 points to 12 at Bynalong. Harden won 44-4 up at Jindabyne against the Snowy River Bears. North Canberra crushed the Stars 42 blot at Raiders Belconnen. And Crookwell at home, too good for the Goannas. The Green Devils beating Googong 32-10. The latter, Harder now on top on 12 points, Bungendore 11, Boorowa and Crookwell 10, Bynalong 9, Snowy River Bears 6, North Canberra 4, Googong Goannas 2, and the winless UC Stars on 0. For this Saturday, a real grudge match coming up at Bynalong, where the Brahmins meet Harden at 2:15. And also on Saturday, we have the Goannas hosting Bungendore, North Canberra at home to Crookwell, and the Snowy River Bears on the road to play the Battling Stars. Those games to start at 2:30. After the break, we'll focus on Group 4 in New South Wales and especially the Liverpool Plains. That's next on Bushbeat on rugbyleague.com. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com. My guest this week on the program out of Group 4. That's the Liverpool Plains around the country music capital of Tamworth and the northwest. It's Gamilaroi country in the eyes of the local First Nations people as we acknowledge them. And joining me on the program, probably the unluckiest man playing Group 4. He normally plays for Werris Creek, but he's out injured. In fact, he won't play another game this season, and we'll talk about his terrible run. But Ronan Haddon, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Ronan, look, you've been cursed by injury. Let's not beat around the bush here. 3 years? You just can't take a trick. Just tell the audience how bad your run has been with the mighty Magpies of Werris Creek.
Yeah, I'd come home in 2022 and I got through the season of 22 all good, and then 23 I ended up rupturing my PCL in my left knee, and that caused me not to play many games that year. And then in 2024 I broke my hand and I had surgery and come back. I think it was about 8 weeks later, and then this year, the second game, I've ruptured my ACL in my right knee, so that's the year done for me.
Have you been walking under ladders?
No, I don't think so.
You're superstitious? What do you put this down to? Just bad luck? Is it as simple as that?
Yeah, I don't really know what else to put it down to. I'm not kind of a superstitious person, but I guess I do have my pre-game rituals, but that's about all superstitious I have.
Well, now you've opened up a Pandora's box. You're not going to look at me like this and think I'm going to let it go through to the keeper, nosy reporter and all.
Yeah.
Tell us about your pre-game ritual, because each player is different. What's your story?
Night before, I like to have spag bowl, get plenty of carbs in, and then game days usually a bacon egg roll for breakfast and a bit of yogurt and granola, probably 2 hours out from a game, and a black coffee, that's about it.
And what do your family and friends and your partner think of this pre-game ritual?
I don't really know. The partner probably hates having spag bowl every Friday night, but she does it. She does it for me.
Now, this knee injury, this ACL, it's an injury that a lot of players, but particularly if you've had a run of injuries, you start wondering about where you're going in the game. Mentally, how tough has it been for you, given this run of outs?
It definitely makes you think about whether you still want to play footy, I guess, and having time off work and things like that kind of makes you think, do you still want to keep doing it? But I do love playing footy, and I love being around my mates, and I guess that's something that keeps drawing me back. But it's probably time that I do think about life after footy a little bit and see what else I kind of want to chase in life, and if footy's going to be one of them.
When you look at players at the elite level, Ronan, we're speaking to Rowan Haddon from the Werris Creek Magpies. When you look at a player like Ryan Pappenhausen, he's been to hell and back. Do you draw some inspiration from someone like him?
I guess you do a little bit. I don't know. It's kind of my first time with a season-ending injury. Like when I did my PCL, I kind of got a few more games in and got games in at the back end of the year. But, I think drawing on stuff like that might come a bit later after the surgery when I'm, really stuck and not really doing much. Now I can still get around a bit and go to the gym. It keeps me mind ticking a bit, but
Tell us about your background. You were born in the Hunter in Newcastle itself, and as a kid grew up in Werris Creek and Corindai, going to school here and becoming a local.
Yeah, I was born at John Hunter in Newcastle, and we shifted here when I was about 5. Dad got a job at the Werris Creek coal mine, and I started my schooling here at Corindai Public, and ever since we moved here, I've loved the town, and
Well, I want to ask you about this. You love the town. How come you're not playing for the Corindai Grasshoppers? I know they're not playing first grade, but they're a famous club, no different to Werris Creek.
Yeah, I actually had my first game of rugby league for the Grasshoppers back when I was 6, and we played with them, and then we actually joined with Werris Creek to make a Corindai Creek side because we didn't have the numbers and they were a bit short too. But as we got a bit older, we all migrated to Werris Creek, and it's kind of my home, I guess, now, and probably wouldn't want to be playing for anyone else.
Now, you haven't always been in this part of the world. Tell us about your adventure in central Queensland and how that all turned out.
Yeah, so I actually started off at the Ipswich Jets, and when I shifted home, one of the trainers that I had at Ipswich, he was from Rockhampton, and rang me and said, "Do you want to come up here and play a bit of footy?" So I quit my job and shifted up there a week later, and spent 12 months up there, which is it's a nice place of Australia, and enjoyed my time.
And tell us about your connection to a very famous club that's been in the news of late with what's happening in Perth, and of course I'm referring to the North Sydney Bears.
Yeah, back when I was in year 11, I went down and did the open trials for the SG ball squad, and ended up getting in, but I did the pre-season and got cut from the squad just after Christmas, and that was when I come home and played my 18th season with the Scone Thoroughbreds.
Very good indeed. All right, stay with us, Ronan. We're speaking to Rowan Haddon from the Werris Creek Magpies. When we come back from the break, we'll talk to Ronan about the local competition and who's who in the zoo, and go through the various clubs such as Costigan and Dungowan and North Tamworth and so forth in Group 4 Rugby League. This is Costo and Bushbeat. Stay with us, more to come. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com, where we're focusing on Group 4 in New South Wales, around the country music capital of Tamworth, where I once worked for the local TV station on Gunny Gnu Road many moons ago. I don't think our special guest will remember those days. That's how far back it was. Ronan Haddon from the Werris Creek Magpies is our special guest. Ronan, you have played, or your club's played every team at least once so far this season. Werris Creek obviously doing well, but aside from the Magpies, who's the team to beat?
The competition's so close this year. I think there's probably multiple teams that are going to be there at the back end of the year, and all the teams that we've played so far, I think it'll be Moree and North, Boggy, and Gunnedah. They'll all be there at the end of the year.
All right, let's shine a light on them one by one. Firstly, the Moree Boars. You played them first up, and it was a close one, but you got the chocolates. What's their strength? What makes you think they could be challenging for the trophy? The Moree Boars.
They could score a try from anywhere. They play a lot of ad-lib footy, and they're dangerous from anywhere on the park. And if they're behind, they can score points pretty easily.
Now, let's go to Wee War. You played them in round 2. Not quite the Wee War Panthers that people will remember when Jamie Lyon, the killer, was playing for them all those years ago when they were a powerhouse. They've seen better days, but I'm sure there's some positives to come out of the season for the Panthers from Wee War.
Yeah, they I think coming back, it's their second year back in Group 4. It's probably going to be tough, but I think if they keep turning up and keep showing up, they're going to be a quality side.
Let's talk about Gunnedah. They're one of the heavyweights, as you alluded to. You played them as part of Magic Round at Scully Park. That was a big promotion for rugby league in the country music capital. Just take us through the experience for the club at Scully Park with Magic Round, and also the Gunnedah side and their strengths and weaknesses. Yeah,
Gunnedah's a good side. They kind of got good strength across the whole field. They've got a good young half in Ezra Gibson. He's a quality player, as long as their fullback Dylan Lake, and their front rower that leads them, Lincoln Smith. But they are a very quality side, and they showed that the start of this year, but also the end of last year, from where they were at the start of the season to the end. They were a different team.
Well, in the first half of the season, then I remind you, your team was unable to beat them. How do you beat Gunnedah?
To be honest, I'm not really sure.
They're that good?
Yeah, they are pretty good. I think you got to limit Dylan Lake's involvement in the game. If you let him carry the ball too often, he just seems to find a gap and gets through nearly every time, and get their big bodies moving around in the middle. I think trying to wear them out. And Lincoln Smith, he seems to go all day. It doesn't matter what you do, he just keeps going. But if you can try and wear them out and limit Dylan's opportunities at getting them good field position, I think that goes a long way.
And the experience for your teammates playing at Scully Park, beautiful playing surface, obviously. It's hosted NRL, as you know, on a number of occasions now. It must have been a big thrill for some of your teammates, that Magic Round, Group 4 style.
Yeah, definitely. There was a big crowd there that night, and yeah, it is a great field to play on. I wish we could play on it a bit more often, but it's definitely a place we look forward to playing at.
Okay, let's talk about Boggabri. You beat them pretty convincingly first time up, more than 4 converted tries in that game. What do you say about Boggabri?
I think if you think back to the semi-final we had at home last year, they're a side that just keeps coming. They don't seem to stop, and I think we had a bit of a lead on them in that semi-final, and they just kept coming and come back. And they've got a few Fijians out there, and they carry the ball strong, and they trouble us a fair bit when we play them.
Okay, let's talk about North's famous club, of course, as you know, in Group 4. First time round, you just got past them. A very formidable team, North Tamworth.
Yeah, they got that class about them, and they've still got a few old heads in there that get them around the park, and they have quality players right through their squad, and they travelled us there a few weeks ago, and it came down to the wire at the end.
Now, we know that Ronan Haddon loves spaghetti bolognese. Do you like chicken, roast chicken?
I do, yeah.
What about the Costigan Roosters? You like them as well? You dined out on them a few weeks ago.
Yeah, the boys had a big game there, but they've lost a few players too, and I think it's going to be a tough season for them, but I'm sure that if they keep ticking away, things are going to happen for them, and
All right, and last but not least, the pride of the Peel Valley, Dungowan, in Cowboy country. What's your take on the Cowboys this season in Group 4, Dungowan?
They're another side that I think if you give them ball and give them opportunities, they'll make you pay for it. But they've got a bit of a smaller pack, but they're pretty fit, and they just keep coming as well.
Righto, now let's talk about your coach, Dave Stewart. When I found out that Dave Stewart was your coach, I thought, what happened to the Eurythmics? I remember Dave Stewart in the Eurythmics. I love a bit of the Eurythmics. He's old enough to remember this pop group. You won't be. But what does he bring to the table as head coach of Werris Creek?
He knows how to bring the confidence out of players, I think, and knows how to talk to his players. But since he's come to the club, him and Cody have worked together pretty well, and we really enjoy having him there.
All right, listen, Ronan Haddon, thanks very much for joining us on Bushbeat. I've got to say on behalf of everybody who's following Group 4, in particular the supporters of the Werris Creek Magpies, we wish you well with your recovery. A long and arduous process, but hang in there, brother.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
There he is, the star fullback for Werris Creek Magpies. He actually bagged 4 tries the week before he got busted doing his knee this year. That was against Wee Waa Panthers. Ronan Haddon joining us here on Bushbeat on rugbyleague.com. Stay with us. More to come right after this. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com. Time now to have a look at the Sunshine State, where the whole state would have been super proud of the Maroons after that epic victory in the Origin decider in Sydney. Well done, Queensland. Firstly, the far north. And before we get into the scores and draws for that part of the world, congratulations to Suburbs on winning the Laurie Spina Shield in Townsville last weekend. A massive carnival as always, involving kids from far and wide, and Suburbs reigning supreme, bringing the shield back north of the Cardwell Range. And as for the local footy last weekend, Suburbs 12, Cairns Brothers 30, Innisfail Leprechauns 16, Atherton Roosters 32, Mareeba 16, Roos 28, Mossman Port Douglas 70, Edmonton Storm 12, and a 26-all draw between Yarrabah and Ivanhoe's. To the latter, Cairns Brothers leading the way. They are the competition favourites, no doubt. 24 points for Brothers, Atherton Roosters second on 22, Suburbs 20, Mossman 15, Tully and Roos 14, Mareeba and Ivanhoe's 13, Yarrabah 11, Innisfail Leprechauns 10, Edmonton with the big fat 0. And this Saturday from 6 o'clock, the winless Storm tackle Yarrabah at Edmonton, as Roos play the Atherton Roosters at Vico Oval. And on Sunday from 3 o'clock, Suburbs meet Innisfail at Alley Park. Hose play Tully at Smithfield, and at Stan Williams Park, the new look Stan Williams Park, Cairns Brothers welcome Mossman. In the Townsville Rugby League last weekend, a low-scoring affair between the Roosters and Norths. Burdekin sneaking home 8 points to 6. Western Lions 46-20 winners over Charters Towers, and Souths too strong for Herbert River. 32-14 the final score in that one with the Bulls reigning supreme. To the ladder, Souths on top on 22 points, Brothers 18, Herbert River and Burdekin both on 12, Charters Towers 10, Western Lions 9, Centrals 8, and Norths in the basement on 7. This Saturday, the River host the Towers. Kickoff is 4:30pm. And then on Sunday, 3 matches. Burdekin at home to Souths. And in Townsville at Jack Mansky, we've got Brothers and Centrals. And at Neil Stewart, it's Western Lions and Norths. In the Mackay Rugby League last weekend, a cracking game from all reports between the Miners and Souths at Darryl Burke Oval. 22-all at full time between Moranbah and the Sharks. Elsewhere, Brothers 30-12 winners over the Whitsunday Brahmins and Magpies 56, Western Suburbs 6. To the ladder, Souths and Moranbah both on 19 points. Brothers on 18, Magpies 10, Wests 8, Serena 6, Whitsunday 4. Now, this Saturday, the Miners are back at home once again, this time to face the Tigers as they remember our old mate, the late Craig Menkins. That game starts at 7:30pm and an important game for both clubs. That's the Miners and the Tigers. And then on Sunday, 2 games in Milton Street. Back on the coast, down the bottom of Milton Street, we've got Brothers and Serena, whilst up the road at Shark Park, Souths play Magpies with both fixtures starting at 3 o'clock. To the Coalfields and the Central Highlands Rugby League last weekend, Brothers 54, Claremont Bears 20, Middlemount Panthers 30, Blackwater Crushers 32, Tigers 62, Springshaw Mountain Men 4, and Peak Downs forfeited to the Bluff Rabbitohs. The Pirates, well, as far as I'm concerned, they should be made to walk the plank after that latest no-show. To the table, Brothers on top on 20 points, Middlemount and Bluff 18, Tigers 17, Blackwater 13, Springshaw 10, Claremont 8, Peak Downs on 6. Tomorrow night, that's Friday night, of course, Springshaw hosts Claremont as Bluff welcome the Tigers. An 8 o'clock kickoff for both fixtures. And on Saturday, Brothers are scheduled to meet the Crushers. That's a home game for Brothers. And Middlemount hosting those Pirates. That's if they turn up, of course. A 7 o'clock start for both matches. In the beef capital, in Rockhampton, my old stomping ground, Norths 46, Gladstone Brothers 8, Tannum Sands 6, Valleys 20, Rocky Brothers 44, Emu Park 6, Fitzroy's no score, Yeppoon 70. To the ladder, Rocky Brothers leading the way on 21 points. Yeppoon and Emu Park, the 2 teams from the Cap Coast, they're on 16. Norths 14, Valleys 8, Gladstone Brothers 6, Tannum Sands 4, and poor old Fitzroy's with the 1 point down the bottom. This Saturday, Tennham v Rocky Brothers at Dennis Park at 6:30pm, and on Sunday at 3 o'clock, we've got Norths at home to Yeppoon, Emu Park and Fitzroy's down on the Cap Coast, and Valleys host Gladstone Brothers in a local derby in the Harbour City. In Bundaberg at Salter Oval last weekend, Waves, get this, they annihilated West's 102 points to 4. I think the scoreboard attendant at Salter Oval might be looking for a pay rise this week. And the other game, well, it didn't happen. Hervey Bay forfeiting to Brothers, and that no-show disease in bush footy spreading far and wide, it seems. And in Maryborough, the Heritage City, East beat Wallaroos 26 points to 20. The ladder in the BRL, Waves on 21 points, Brothers 17, Wallaroos and Hervey Bay 9, East 8, West 2. This Saturday at Salter Oval, the doubleheader, Brothers v Waves and West v Easts, 3:45 and 5:30 kickoffs respectively. And at 5 o'clock at Hervey Bay, it's the locals up against Roos. In the Northern Districts, last weekend at Avondale, Gin 26, Calliope 24, South Callan 20, Miriam Vale 14, Avondale 18, Isis Devils 26. To the ladder in the Northern Districts, Isis Devils on 20 points, South Callan Sharkies on 16, Avondale 14, Gin 10, Miriam Vale and Calliope on 8, and the Marlins on 2. This Saturday, Calliope is the place to be. 12 o'clock, Miriam Vale versus Gin, 4:20pm, Avondale v South Callan, and at 6 o'clock, the main event. That's Roosters and Marlins. That's in the Northern Districts, and those 3 big matches in the men's cop in Calliope on Saturday. In the Central Burnett, Mundubra 74-0 over Eidsvold, and Monto forfeiting to host club Biggin and Warriors. That's the story from last weekend. One wonders if Monto will actually turn up this Saturday. The Roos scheduled to play the Tigers at Mundubbera at 4:30 after the match between the Warriors and Gayndah at the same venue at 2:30. And as for the ladder, Gayndah 20 points, Biggendon 19, Mundubbera 15, Monto 8, Eidsvoll 4. On the Sunshine Coast, last weekend, Nambour 18, Kawana 16, Wolves 20, Sharks 14, Snake 16, Dogs 56, Swans 24, Pirates 14. The latest standings on the sunny coast, Stanley River 48 points, Coolum 40, Maroochydore 36, Noosa 26, Biwa and Kawana 24, Nambour 20, Caloundra 18 and Caboolture on 4. For this Saturday, Noosa host Stanley River from 5:30 and from 6 o'clock the Dogs at home to the Sharks as the Snakes welcome the Swans. And on Sunday from 3 o'clock it's Coolum v Crushers to wrap up round 13. In the Ipswich Rugby League, the competition resumes on Saturday, Norths versus Fassifern at 6 o'clock, a home game for Norths, and on Sunday, a 10 o'clock kickoff. I'll say that again, a 10 a.m. kickoff in A grade for Jets v West End. Absolutely ridiculous, that kickoff time, I must say, at the North Ipswich Reserve. Never seen anything like it before. And I've been covering bush footy on and off since 1987. And from 3 o'clock, that's more like it, Brothers at home to Redbank Plains. And recapping the ladder, in Ipswich, Redbank Plains on 11, Jets 10, Brothers 9, Bombers 8, North 6, West End 4. In the Garden City of Toowoomba, last weekend, the final of the Mads and Rasmussen. Of course, it's the big trophy, the big mid-season trophy, steeped in tradition, steeped in history. The top two teams playing off for that silverware. And congratulations to Gatton, the Hawks, who are running first in the competition in Toowoomba this year. They beat Wattles in one heck of a game, 22 points to 18 at Clive Berghofer last weekend. The table, no change, of course. Gatton 20 points, Wattles 16, Brothers 14, Gundawindi and Dolby on 11, Warwick and Valleys 10, Pittsworth 8, Oakey 4, Highfields and Souths on 3. And this Saturday, we've got Brothers hosting Warwick at 6 o'clock. And at 6:30, Oakey at Gatton as Souths welcome Wattles. And on Sunday, round 12 continues with Valleys v Highfields at Father Ranger at 2:30 as Gundawindi host the Dolby Diehards. In the Roma and District Rugby League, in the latest round, Taroom, Wandoan Battlers 34, Red Bulls 28, Mitchell 40, Chinchilla 14, Jandowie 18, Miles 20, and St George 16, Cities 6. The ladder in Roma has Cities on top on 32 points, Jandowie on 22, then three teams on 20 points, Chinchilla, the Battlers and Miles, St George on 18, Mitchell 16 and Wallumbilla Surat on 12. This Saturday at 11 a.m, another early start for these two teams, that's Cities and the Battlers. It's the Battlers on the road, playing in Roma at Arthur Beetson, so it's an early start, as I say, 11 o'clock, very unusual once again. And then from 3 o'clock Sunday, Chinchilla at home to Jandowie, Mitchell welcome Miles, and at Surat, it's the Red Bulls taking on St George. In the Border Rugby League, last weekend, Tenterfield hosted Inglewood, and the Tigers prevailed 58 points to 10. And as for the ladder, the undefeated Gremlins, they're on 10 points, Tigers 4, Roosters 2. And this Saturday, the Tigers crossing the border to Stanthorpe to take on the Gremlins from 2 o'clock. And finally, on the Gold Coast, the Glitter Strip, it resumes tomorrow night, the local competition. That's Friday night, of course, Southport versus Burleigh under lights at Owen Park from 8 o'clock. And then on Saturday, Helensvale at home to Runaway Bay from 5:30 and 6 o'clock, or 6:30, beg your pardon, it's Currumbin hosting Tugun. The Burleigh Bears remain undefeated. In case you're wondering, they're on 20 points, Currumbin 14, Tugun 12, Runaway Bay 10, Helensvale 8, and Southport on 0. That's the Sunshine State done and dusted. You're listening to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com. Welcome back to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com. Jason Costigan with you. And normally on the show at this time, of course, we go through the affiliated states, Victoria, both regional and metro, South Australia, WA, and the Territory. Now, because of some technical problems, regrettably, we can't do that this week. And hopefully, we'll have that sorted, needless to say, for next week's episode. So apologies to all you good people in Victoria, SA, the West and the Territory. Bear with us. We'll get it right. We'll get it sorted for next week's show. Now, before we wrap up proceedings, I want to say a big thank you once more to Ronan Haddon from the Werris Creek Magpies for joining us on this week's episode. Ronan going under the knife for his surgery in the coming days, and we wish him well. And again, thanks to Ronan for catching up with us, talking about Group 4 footy in that part of New South Wales, and in particular his club, the Werris Creek Magpies, who'll be looking to reload as they seek redemption this weekend after suffering their first loss of the season. As always, my thanks to my good friend and colleague Steve Mascord in London for pulling this together. And we'll do it all again, of course, this time next week here on rugbyleague.com. But I must say again, congratulations to Queensland. So many of our players, of course, if I can be so parochial, coming from the bush. And I want to also recognise New South Wales too, because you have to ask the question, where would these two teams be without those boys from the bush? And just before we sign off, what about Serena in North Queensland? A story that we had up on rugbyleague.com news with Buffy the Cane Toad in the main street of Serena, a local icon, a local landmark, draped in maroon as per normal at this time of the year. And then some mischievous person, I was going to say something else, but this program's rated G, decided to drape Buffy the Cane Toad in blue. And on the morning of the game, and I'll tell you what, investigations are still continuing in Serena, which of course has given us some great rugby league players, people like Dale Shearer, Martin Bella, Wendell Saylor, Kevin Campion, Darley Cherry Evans, Ruben Cotter. I think I might have missed someone out, but tremendous production line of players from a small town. That's Serena, the home of the Serena Crocodiles, and also Buffy the Cane Toad. And hopefully that would have got rid of that blue jersey or whatever it was on Buffy the Cane Toad. Completely and utterly unacceptable. Anyway, congratulations again to Queensland. I'm Jason Costigan. You've been listening to Bushbeat here on rugbyleague.com. We'll catch you next time. Bye for now. Stay with us. The news is next.